Hello and welcome. My name is Aura McKay and I am the founder of Business of Creativity, and I am talking to you today about the happiness advantage. So it's kind of an interesting theory, this whole idea of the positive psychology happiness advantage, and how if you start off with happiness, you are 78% more likely to be successful. I know, it's incredible that that statistic is so high. And what was curious about this when I read it was that they came to this discovery after doing a survey and doing research with Harvard students. And Harvard students, I mean, as you know, they are the cream of the crop, they're the top of the list, these are the A-listers. Well, at least most of them are A-listers in terms of they got there for real. Some of them, anyways, that's a whole other conversation, shortcuts. And most of the people that got into Harvard, I mean, these are the smartest, most intelligent, some of the most driven people out there. And yet what they discovered was a lot of these students at Harvard were failing. They were actually failing. They were suffering from depression. Some of them were even borderline suicidal. And so you would think that these are the most privileged people in North America that have everything going for them, and yet they are not succeeding and they're not happy. And the psychology department at Harvard for years researched to find out, well, what was the key ingredient for success? And what they discovered was happiness. That if you are happy, you are 78% more likely to be successful. So, okay, great. So does that mean that we're all gonna walk around doing positive affirmations and, being super Pollyanna and looking at the bright side? Because when I first looked into positive psychology and the happiness advantage, I thought, well, this is kind of BS because life doesn't work that way. We're not always happy and positive. Like, things happen. And so that false positivity, that idea that we would have to always be happy, didn't really make sense to me and didn't seem like it was a very realistic thing. And what I really liked about the way that the happiness advantage is positioned is that they're very clear that this isn't about, thinking happy thoughts and practicing affirmations and ignoring the circumstances of life. Rather, this is based on 7 very specific principles that can show you the advantage to starting off feeling happy when you're in the pursuit of success. And the very first thing I want to share with you is okay, well, what is the happiness advantage? So I've already given you one statistic that, in terms of success, but there are some other statistics that I'm going to read to you because they are so powerful. And the number one principle of the book, I'm going to show it to you. This is the book right here. It's called The Happiness Advantage by Shawn Achor, and I will drop a link later on. Yes, no Pollyanna-isms, none at all, Sue. Yes, definitely. You can maybe be perceived as a Pollyanna just because you will be that much more happy by applying these principles. However, it's more than just positive thinking. And the reason why you want to care about this is not just that single statistic that was evolved after doing research at Harvard. There's a lot more to it. In fact, as creatives, a positive versus like a neutral or a negative brain, and it is the state of our brain, it's the state of our thinking in terms of the way that we're processing emotions and feelings, both intellectually or psychologically, as well as physiologically. What happens in our brain science when we are in a negative state is very different than when we are in a neutral or a positive state. And a brain that is in a positive state is 3 times more creative. That's right. And think about it. Think about it in your own practice. If you're going into doing a project for a client or having to create something or tap into that, the creative genius that is the basis of our livelihood, that if you come into it with a bad attitude or you're not super excited about the project, it can be really challenging and difficult to tap into your creativity. But if you come into it already in a positive state, you are 3 times more creative. Sue offers, I thought I had to suffer for my art. Well, you know what? That's a misconception of a lot of artists. It's not true for creative entrepreneurs. Creative entrepreneurs are business people who get paid to do what they love and to make a huge impact. Some artists may suffer for their work. That's a whole different conversation. But we're in the world of business. If you can be 3 times more creative, if you can be 31% more productive, if you can have 23% lower fatigue systems and almost 40% higher sales, if you approach all of those activities from a happiness or a positive mindset. This is the happiness advantage. This is why it's even worth having this conversation. If I didn't really believe in the power of your mindset and the power of positive psychology to get real results for your creative business, I wouldn't even bother with this conversation for you guys, because my commitment to you is bridging that gap between your creative genius and making money in a profitable business. And in order to do that, I want to give you as many advantages as I possibly can. And the happiness advantage can certainly increase both your sales, your productivity, your level of success, and your creativity. So that's just one of the principles. So again, let's look at how do we actually get there? How do we get into the conversation of being happy so that we can do the things that we need to be doing and have the kinds of results that we want into our lives. So principle number 2, and we're only going to go through 3 of the 7 principles in today's conversation. Principle number 2 is called the fulcrum and the lever, or I like to think of it as the lens that you view your work through. So what is the lens or perspective that you are viewing your work through? Your brain needs to feel like your activity has a purpose. So whether this is a work activity that has a purpose or even your leisure activity that has a purpose can become more meaningful, can create a deeper level of happiness. I know a lot of us think, hey, you know what, we have to work out because, you know, you got to, but the people that are doing an activity that has a purpose or a meaning are much more excited and engaged, much more likely to do that activity, much more likely to create the habit, much more likely to have the results. So connecting our brains, or using our brains to connect an activity to a purpose is a really critical piece. Creating that fulcrum and that lever of being able to leverage meaning to be able to get you to that place of feeling like it has purpose and meaning. That's a core element of happiness and being able to leverage the happiness advantage. So the idea here is that you want to have a belief. So there's 2 things. Purpose, activity connected to purpose, and then a belief in your ability to improve. A belief in your ability to improve. There's a lot of times in our businesses where we're doing bread and butter jobs, those kind of great, consistent clients, but they're not necessarily super exciting or super inspiring projects, those kind of base level bread and butter jobs. They can be super I just got distracted because I was looking at number 3. Let me finish off with the fulcrum and the lever. So having those bread and butter jobs can be great in terms of giving you a consistent income level, but you might not be responding to them in terms of feeling like they're meaningful or they're purposeful or they're giving you an opportunity for growth and improvement in your business or in your life. So one of the ways to tap into the fulcrum and the lever is to look for the evidence of awesome. Look for where is it that you're able to connect to the things that are fabulous and great and working well. Where are you able to connect to meaning in your life and in your business? And this is why we focus a lot on, why are you in this creative business? What is your vision for it? What is the kind of difference that you want to make? Because knowing those kinds of things is exactly the tool that can pull you through, that can leverage you into being able to use that happiness advantage in your life and your business. The last principle that we're going to talk about together today, and guys, if you have any questions, if you have comments, if you have an example or a challenge, please throw it in here. The conversation we're having is all about how our mindset can really impact our success in our business, genuinely impact it, not just like a woo-woo, yeah, if you feel good, things happen, but statistically, 3 times more creative, statistically almost 40% better at sales when you start from a place of being happy. So one of the principles is called the Tetris Effect, or the positive after image. So I know that you guys have seen it out there where you've seen some of those memes on Facebook or social media or something where you watch a thing spiral around for a while and then you look away and it's kind of still burned into your retina. You still see it everywhere you look. You still see that flashing circle, or the gray dress or the pink dress or the gold dress or whatever it was, and it's just burned into your mind. And that Tetris effect, they call it the Tetris effect because at the time that they were creating these principles, Tetris was the dominant game out there. And the idea was that if you look at something long enough, that's almost all you can see. And so many times in our lives, and certainly in our businesses as creative entrepreneurs, all we can see is what is not working. And gang, this is where I am right now. I am in the middle of frustration and it's not working and I'm up against it, and all I can see if I just look out into the world is how it's not okay and not working. And that is, in effect, this whole idea of if all I've been looking for is where it doesn't work, where things are falling apart, where things are not going to plan, then that kind of burns into my brain. And my poor little brain, all it can see is more of the same. So what the third principle of the happiness advantage teaches us is that if we focus on looking for the evidence of awesome, if we focus on looking for all of the things that are working in our lives, that can start to shift what is seared into our eyes, what we just see by default out there. And we just had in Canada Thanksgiving weekend, which has a whole lot of other stories to it as well. But one of the things about Thanksgiving weekend is an opportunity to connect with gratitude, to reflect on all of the things that you are grateful for. Thanksgiving weekend is an awesome time of the year to put into practice the third principle, the Tetris Effect, and start looking for what are all of the things in your life that you are grateful for. What are the things in your life that are already working? And as part of what I do for my daily practice and what I encourage my clients to do is a daily reflection of gratitude. Even if all you do is think about 3 things that you are grateful for, you will start to train your brain to look for that evidence of awesome. You will burn into your brain, instead of all of the negativity and everything that doesn't work, you'll start training it to look for what is working. What am I grateful for? What can I see as something that could help me to generate happiness so that I can leverage my happiness advantage? So those are the first 3 principles of the happiness advantage. And principle number 7, you've already heard it. I'm sure you've heard it. I'm sure you've heard it millions of times, and maybe not necessarily as a principle of positive psychology, but you've certainly heard it as a principle of success or of a way of shifting your own mindset and potential. Because principle number 7 is all about social investment, or said another way, who are you surrounding yourself with? If you invest in a social network that has a growth mindset, that has happiness as a baseline, that is supportive and looks for the evidence of awesome and looks for growth opportunity and contributes to each other, you are way more likely to be interacting with the world using the advantage of happiness. So that's the basic topic of today. If you guys are curious about the happiness advantage, as I said, I will put a link in the comments box to the book. Shawn Achor has a couple of other books. He's got a book called Before Happiness and another book called Big Potential. And a lot of what I do in my work is to share some of the principles and use some of those principles to really assist my clients in getting to that leveraged mindset. Trevor, thank you so much. Knowing that you are my friend as well is something that makes me very, very happy. You are an integral person in my social investment network. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you all for showing up to this conversation live. I really appreciate you accommodating the new format and location. If there is anything that you would like me to tackle in these Tuesday 2 o'clock Teen Talks, anything related to business challenges or questions or curiosity, marketing challenges, and anything around mindset, because I think it's pretty clear that we are the most integral piece to our own business. And when we can take care of ourselves and to manage and to choose how we're going to approach things, we can certainly be more creative, more productive, and more successful. Thank you all. Let me know if I can be of service to you, and I will see you here next week at the Tuesday 2 o'clock Teen Talk. I am Aura McKay, and I am the founder of Business of Creativity. Have a great week.